welcome you on behalf of Arab Advisors Group and our parent company, the Arab Jordan Investment Bank, to the 11th Convergence Summit. As usual, our appreciation goes to Her Royal Highness, Princess Sumaya, for her continuous support of the conference and vital efforts in advancing the ICT sector in Jordan and in the region. The Arab world's ICT fortunes are diverging. While 9 countries in the Arab world already have fourth-generation long-term evolution cellular services, some have undergone massive upheavals that destroyed much of their second-generation networks. While some cities in the Arab world now boast cutting-edge and state-of-the-art fiber connectivity, delivering 100 megabits per second or more speeds to most households in the Arab world remain serviceable only by 1990s broadband speeds that advanced markets have left long behind. This infrastructure development gap is not just tied to income levels of countries and levels of competition and market dynamics. It is also deeply related to government policy. Excessive burdening of the ICT sector by taxation and fees reduces the ability of the operators to invest in the next generation networks and the necessary infrastructure for broadband. In Jordan's case, what are the prospects for massive deployments of fiber to the home networks in most of Jordan's cities in the current context of return on investment and taxation regime? Still, the positives in the Arab world are many. We now have 80 million broadband users and 400 million cellular lines, whose use of smartphones and tablets is rapidly growing. This expanding user base is a ripe market for innovative business models in content, payment, e-commerce, e-education, e-health. Also, the Internet of Things is on the horizon in the Arab world, promising massive economic efficiencies. Please allow me to thank the sponsors of this 11th Convergence Summit for their support and trust: Paltel Group, Sony Mobile, Umnia, Zain, and Orange. Allow me to also thank other supporters of the summit, including Damamax, Globitel, Arabsat, Iskadinia, Mina iTech, Dubai Internet City, Dubai Media City, Intaj, Fiber to the Home Council, Aramix, and the Central Bank of Jordan. The support of global, regional, and Jordanian companies and organizations is a testament to the position of our Convergence Summit as a landmark conference in the region. Again, I would like to welcome you all, and I would like now to invite Dr. Isa Batarse to address the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. It's really an honor for me to represent Her Royal Highness Princess Sumaya, who is the chairman of the Board of Trustees for Princess Sumaya University for Technology, which I'm serving as president. And also she's the president of Royal Scientific Society. She likes this group all the time, attended every meeting almost, and she wanted to be with you this morning, but His Royal Highness Prince Hassan asked her to join him in a task. So she sends her regards to everyone and regrets that she will not be able to join you this morning. And best wishes as you deliberate very important, timely, and for sure challenging issues when it comes to convergence of the ICT sector in the media. I was asked to make remarks for 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes, and given the danger of giving a faculty member to speak, we go too academic and we don't stop talking. So I told Ihab to motion when I am overboard. I asked the question, what should I tell this group after looking at your really agenda with so many experts in the room, and you have really thought deeply on your topics, and given the fact that I am not an expert when it comes to computing and mobile, neither in the media. However, when it comes to technological innovation and really transformation in any given society, I know one fact, that innovation and technological changes have really transformed nations. So I wanted to address the issue of innovation in a knowledge-based economy that's really innovative, because that's truly transformational root cause. And also given that this sector you are in, probably the most important section that could give an opportunity for innovation. So if we look at what are the indicators of innovative knowledge society, and I should make a point, if you continue to talk about knowledge society alone, you will be behind. If you continue to say we need the skills of knowledge society, you will lose. What we need to be focusing on, what's really the opportunity and the skill for innovative knowledge society that could really transform our country and the region. We have seen modern information technology tools that really crossed every sector. We have seen the level of education impact all the innovation. We have seen the technical skills needed in the training. And the public sector support is extremely important, and that's where maturity is important. And ease to establish startups. Whether we like it or not, we have seen this region do gradual transformation to the startup culture, and many, many examples. There is no way we can spend time to talk about them. However, when it comes to a talent for technological innovation that transforms society, we can list so many. Look at automation, look at mobile communication, look at satellite technology, biotechnology, and nanotechnology. It is almost impossible to list all the positive effects of innovative technologies in societies. What is certain is that they all have transformed the quality of a human life and experience within a matter of decades. In every case, it is the human intellectual capital that drove every technological innovation and the root cause of societal transformation. It is the human intellectual capital is going to drive it. Let me share with you quickly, and I know many of you probably seen it. There was a Time magazine jointly with the Qualcomm, the telecom giant in the US. They put a survey of asking a question about innovation and talent. They asked 10,000 people, and they published the results in November 2013, a few months ago. And the article was entitled The Spark of Invention. And in that survey, they asked 10,000 people across the countries whether they are developing, developed, mature, emerging, rich, and poor, and also the business decision maker. They asked these important questions that I thought they might be related to what we want to enable an innovative sector like yours. It found several things, which I will summarize very quickly. Inventiveness is not a universal shared skill. And inventors are not born, but rather are created. This is the 10,000 views of the people who have done it across the sectors. It seems there is no consensus on what makes a person an inventor, or defines the act of invention, or how it springs into being, how some of us master it and others do not. It's all about training the mind to see beyond the obvious and be able to connect several loosely linked clues to be creative. Many agree that invention is just as often results in more stubborn hard work. It was said that it is the sweat and resilience of Thomas Edison made him work 18 hours a day in the average to become the most inventive man of the 20th century. He did not put almost 1,100 inventions because he actually was lucky. It's the hard work, it's the connection between what's needed and what you can spend your time and mind into it. On the average, 65% of all the 10,000 people, 65% who responded to the survey thought inventors were special people, and only 35% thought everyone could be an inventor. If the national average of the world is 35% they can become inventor, then you really have to dig deeper in the data. Well, what's really important, the people who were born after 1980, that percentage went to 42%. It means the young generation, which is some of them in the audience, I'm glad to see some from my university, have a more positive look and confidence they can become inventors. Which country was the highest percentage of being innovative? It's not surprising, South Korea. South Korea response was almost 94%. They believe they become inventors. 3% in Russia, 60% in the US. Why is that huge 3% to 94% in South Korea? Because they've done it. Because the young generation have transformed South Korea in the last 40 years beyond imagination. And if you look at the United States, probably the level-headed answer, because we have seen the US after the Second World War transform the hardware, the transistor, the hardware, the communication, now the internet and the entire social media. So the people who are born in the US have seen transformation in the last 60 years. However, the people born in South Korea, they have seen only transformation in their lifetime. GDP almost equal to Jordan, to almost at the top in the world. And it's not surprising to notice this. Their R&D support for technological innovation for economic growth is 50%. They put their money that impact economy, and very few countries do that. They asked the question, which is the most innovative country in the world? 36% said the United States. It was the highest among all 10,000 people who are across the world. And Japan came next to 19. Russia came 3%. So what does it mean? It's the culture, it's the people, it's the mindset, it's really the confidence. And if you look at China and South America, these are the coming, and India, are coming very fast. And this is the opinion of those 10,000 people. What are the factors that really influence creativity in a nation? No doubt the current economic situation of a country. The more success stories we have, the more economic impact we make, the more people become confident, and the more it will allow innovation and allow people to become more creative. Second one, vibrant educational system. They have a global competition for universities, and your higher education system has to be competitive globally. Otherwise, you don't compete. Based on the survey, they found out Southeast Asia, which is a completely different educational system, can compete with North America, Canada and the US and Europe, and completely different. One of them pushes very hard the muscle of the brain to memorize and to work hard, Southeast Asia. And the other one makes you think freely, think out of the box, have analytical mindset. That's the US and the Western education system. Both have succeeded. So don't worry about your education system as long as it really drives people to work hard and think out of the box. Well, it's important for our region. 71% of the people said that the mobile phone was the most important invention in human history. Your business. 71% believe that. Actually, this is in developed, emerging, rich and poor. And then it comes to electronics and computer hardware. They saw those sections. Healthcare, pharmaceutical, energy is the future innovation platform or enabling sectors. It's a long article, but it says inventiveness is a quality or a process that can be learned, but almost impossible to predict when and how it will come. It has a luck component. When I read this word about luck, to become creative, you have to have luck. The question is, who is the lucky person? The lucky person, the one who puts himself or herself in the middle of the opportunity. You can't close the windows, be at home, don't see the world, and don't go out and say, I'm not lucky. Yes, you are not lucky, because you are not putting yourself in the environment. Those inventions that came out of a lot of brain thinking and deliberation took time, effort, and luck when they put themselves in the middle of the opportunity. Less than 20 years ago, we practically had no internet and no smart anything, 20 years ago. Today, we are talking about the innovation that drives economies that based on a technology in my iPhone or on my smartphone. This is an opportunity cannot be missed. What's encouraging for Jordan and the MENA region is that almost a general agreement by both developed and emerging countries that the ICT sector is going to drive the economic transformation because of its sector intersection. And this is a universally shared view. What are the positive things for the Middle East region? I think we have a good higher education system. I think if there are people who complain about higher education in Jordan, we know the students who travel abroad and do masters and PhD, higher education, our students do very well. In fact, some of the educational institutions that start coming up in the last 10 years are positive sign. There is another good news in the region, a youth bulge in this region. We're talking about more than 50% below the age of 20. This is the group in the next 10 years, they'll be 30. And this is the group you cannot afford to put them on the sideline. The Jordanian population between the age of 20 and 30 will be more than 60% in the next 10 years because the birth rate is going down, but the birth rate in the last 10 years was high in 15 years. So we will see that bulge in that population is important, but it's a very positive. Technical know-how and expertise are rising in the region, and we have seen investors coming to the region. These are the positive sides. What are the negatives? I think the mindset is still an old one. We have a challenge to overcome the mindset. We have a fearful mindset that worry about risking, and we have seen small changes in the last few years. Lack of incentives and legislative know-how, or at least the process. Regional political instability is going to limit that. But all of these negativeness and the positives on one side will require us we don't stop working. There was a great article in the New York Times recently. It said that beyond the conflict lies a Middle East of milk and e-honey. And it talks about, this is by Christopher Schroeder, who talked about the region that has been coming up, and he's referring to this region. He put some facts, which I'm going to quote exactly. Dubai, Amman, Beirut are hubs of a growing regional burst of e-commerce, moving well over $1 billion in goods in 2013, and a market that produces more than $400 billion in traditional consumer sales. They represent a big opportunity. The Arab world of more than 350 million has a collective GDP the size of India's and a per head capita GDP nearly twice that of China. Is the internet usage is one of the fastest growing in the world. The number of users is expected to exceed 140 million. This is almost 6 months ago. Next year, within 2 years, at least 50% of the people in most countries in this region will have a smartphone. I think we exceeded this 50%. Members of the new generation in the Middle East, as elsewhere, have never known a world other than information technology. Look how powerful the statement. Almost all the young generation we have in our universities in Jordan, 350,000 of them today did not know anything else except the IT. So you don't have to educate this population. They're already there, and they have done it. Entrepreneurs in the region are continuing to to receive the support and do inventions. Egypt alone, internet contributes as much as the percentage of GDP at wealth services. That's in Egypt. These are the quotes recently done by New York Times in that article. Then there was a Sunday report from Georgetown Journal of International Affairs. The Middle East is a market of dynamic and changing, especially growth of opportunity after the Arab Spring. What it means, really, we are dealing with 320 million people who have transformed slowly, but beginning to have this confidence build. The young market, over 100 million people under the age of 15 who love their connectivity and mobile phones. This is the social media drive we have seen. This is a very positive outlook, and I don't want to waste your time. I'm sure you can look it up. But when it comes to Jordan, let me make very quick remarks on Jordan. I think we have seen a success story in the ICT. In all measures, Jordan in the last 12, 15 years have taken the industry to very random success stories that they've been around 20 years into a more numbers of successes that no doubt this sector has taken off. Liberalized ICT market with all the difficulties Sami Smirat and I were talking about. There is excellent educational system to enable ICT technologies, engineering, computer science. This is important that the entire educational system in Jordan is built in this curricula. that competes with Europe and Asia and the US. We have economic and political stability in the region. We all agree on that. Steady economic development. We have seen the growth in the last 10 years. The legislation, regulation, business does help. Of course, more work to be done for sure. And the leadership in this country by His Majesty King Abdullah II, who has very much from day one when he took the throne, that this is a sector we cannot afford to go beyond or be behind, and we have to skip quickly forward. And the last word about my university, I'm very proud to be part of a private, non-for-profit university called Princess Sumaya University for Technology. And this university has almost 3,200 students and never focus on the quantity, but the quality, Her Highness being the president or the chairman of the Board of Trustees. And this university, I'm very proud to say that the number of companies spin-off from the students from our university is very impressive. When I asked the data in the last few years, I was given 25 companies today in business started by our students. That's why it was not surprising when His Majesty went to the Silicon Valley, several companies were from PSUT. In fact, I was very impressed and proud to see many of them are becoming a showcase for Jordan. And we should all be proud that Jordan, given the platform at Berkeley and Plug and Play, to be able to display its success story when it comes to the young generation. Again, I am very honored to be part of this meeting, and I really look forward to probably listening to some of your conversation when it comes to what's needed to be done next. And I think there are consensuses in the several items. We have to loosen trade restriction for Jordan and the others. I'm talking about Jordan, but probably applies to everyone. Encourage free circulation of knowledge and ideas. We have to let our universities interact and work together. Modernize regulatory regimes and facilitate risk protection. If there is risk fear and fear of failure, make sure we can mitigate that. And boost the private sector. Our private sector needs to be more empowered. And I'm encouraged to see so many private sector play a major role in the drive for technological innovation. No doubt, the mobile computing in general, the mobile telecom in general, and the mobile computing for services is the huge promise for the region. We need to see more bottom-up inventions and innovation. That's where all technical breakthroughs start. We need to support that. We need the private sector to put some interest in it. Without transformational change in regulation, it will be very difficult. It's really a collective work, the government, the private sector, and the startup culture and innovativeness in the region will only happen when the tie between the private and the public sector is very strong. Thank you very much.